Hey everybody, Deji here. You may have noticed last week we didn't release an episode, but don't worry, we're still making episodes, but we moved to a new format to help prevent burnout and still be able to deliver those really quality interviews and episodes. We are moving from 4 episodes a month to 2 episodes. That's kind of the long and the short of it. We're looking forward to bringing you more guests and insightful conversations in the future. So let's get into the first show. Hey, this is Deji.
And Chris.
Welcome to the Lot1 Podcast. On today's episode, we talk with Rachael Galperin about NextFoundArtist platform and all of its fantastic benefits for independent filmmakers like yourself. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to the Lot1 Podcast. My name is Deji. Today on the episode, we are here with Rachael Galperin, who is the founder of NextFoundArtist. Thank you for being on the show today. I am excited to talk to you today because this is a subject that I'm increasingly more curious about: distribution. Before we get into that, though,
tell us a little bit of your backstory,
Yeah.
Rachael. Where'd you get your start? How'd you get to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me. So we are a platform for independent filmmakers where we really help amplify original voices. And how this all came about is growing up, I always loved film. So there's that kid who loves film. There's the one who carries around the camcorder trying to film as much as they can, or there's the one who's sitting in front of the TV trying to consume as much as they can. I was that kid. So what I was doing was obviously looking for a form of entertainment, but I was also doing like a self-induced form of cinema therapy, which means that I was watching films or TV shows and really looking for a community or just a way of kind of connecting with other people. And when I couldn't find what it was that I was looking for, I started writing. So my love of film really elevated and I aspired to become a screenwriter. And so I would write story after story. And then eventually, once I got into high school, I started the kid who normally, this is exactly what every high school kid does after going to school Monday through Friday, opts in to take courses, screenwriting courses at School of Visual Arts in New York City every Saturday. Just wanted to learn more about the film industry, wanted to really get into it. And I came up with an idea when I was 11 years old that I wanted to be able to create a safe space where all communities could feel a sense of belonging through the power of art. And then fast forward, studied film in college. And then I went into the film space, worked on different sets. And it was just glaring the lack of diversity that was throughout the entire creative process. And so for me, this is now where I was able to take something that I came up with and pair it with something tangible and be like, this is why so many people don't feel represented in mainstream media, is because there's such a lack of diversity. And when you have a lack of diversity, you don't have like the ability for different perspectives of communities and of cultures to truly be authentically represented. And so that's really where all of this stemmed from, and wanting to be able to provide a space where we do help filmmakers, but also be able to create that space for authentic storytelling to really shine through from a diverse background of communities and cultures.
And
that's really great.
That's really great. I guess at what point did you sort of go from, I guess, because you said you wanted to be a screenwriter, right? At what point did you, or I guess, I don't know, are you still pursuing that as well? Screenwriting? I
mean, I always write.
Yeah.
In general, I think that writing is just like such a healthy form for any individual to get out like any feelings or just thoughts. But for me, it's such a creative outlet for me to be able to write. Whatever happens with it in the future, we'll all see together.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like I still write just because I love the ability to create, regardless if it's for myself or if it's for other people.
So you said that you did a lot of screenwriting as you're growing up. At what point did you decide to make that transition over into what you're doing right now? And sort of what was a bit of the forces, or what were you thinking about during that time period?
Yeah. So for me, it was while I was on set, I was like, how do I make this now tangible thing a reality? And so for me, I knew that I knew the creative side. I knew that I knew the back of the house side, but I didn't know the business side. So from there, I was like, let me go on over and work at a few different startups. Let me understand business. Let me understand marketing. And so I actually switched on over and I worked at a few different startups, and I worked in different elements of marketing and kind of worked there for 10 years and oversaw different departments within the marketing team, worked for creating different strategies and customer analytics and partner development, partnership development, and then was like, okay, there's no real right time for like going after your dream or going to like start a business. You just have to be like, you have to do it. And this was something that was like screaming in me, like, this is needed. And it's like, not now, then when? And I saw two things. I saw one stat that said in 2024, 75% of consumers don't feel represented in mainstream media. And I was like, that's crazy that I felt that growing up. And still, in 20 years later, that high of a number still feels that way. And then I saw a post where someone wrote, why are you helping someone else achieve their dreams and not achieving your own? And so I actually was like, okay, way to call me out, internet. And I ended up quitting my job and went full time on this because I was like, literally, if not now, then when?
Yeah. Wow. So can you tell us a bit about the platform just itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really are, well, one, we believe that everyone matters. And so that's really the real reason why we're doing what we're doing. And that because everyone matters, your art should be able to reflect that. And so our platform is the ability we partner with universities, with film festivals, with organizations, and we're really being that space for emerging filmmakers and filmmakers in general to be able to come on, have a platform where they can share their art with and help them build and find their communities virtually, and then have all of that data transparent to them so that they can truly understand who their audience is, who their communities are, who they're reaching. And that's tangible information for them to now be able to go on and be like, hey, future distributors, or hey, future studios, or hey, future, financiers, like here's the community that I've been able to find and build. And then on the flip side, for consumers to now be able to come in, feel represented, feel a sense of a community, but also be entertained. And so how we're doing that, or like some of the main core differentiators for us, is that we don't focus on genres, we focus on communities. And so communities tie back to the cast and crew and the content and topics. So now when a consumer comes in, it's a completely personalized experience for them to now align with their identities or with their interests or what they want to learn about. Because again, film is not just a form of entertainment, it's also one of the largest forms of education, and allows us to learn different perspectives of different communities and cultures, which creates a more open and accepting society. But they also themselves get to feel represented and also entertained. So for them, it's that platform for them. And then for the filmmakers, it's the ability to know that they do have a space where they can share their art and that people can resonate with it and also be found.
That's really, I like that a lot. So can you kind of walk us through, like, let's say a project leaves or is made, and then now it's going to go on to your platform. What's sort of what happens? Can you take us through what?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a submission form. So they would fill out the submission form, and then it is reviewed by the team. And then based on the information that is part of the submission form, we also incorporate, like, we help with marketing efforts. So like we want to make sure that we have all the different information. And so once it's reviewed, if it's approved, we reach out to them, we let them know that it was approved and what information else that we would need to help them with different marketing efforts. If it's not approved, we do give feedback. And like based on, well, right now I'll say is that all of our films that we have worked on or work with have gone through the festival route. So for us, we already know, 99% of them have been approved. I think there's only haven't been many that have not been approved, but it's also due to the fact that they just align, right? They're not talking about anything hurtful or harmful or mean or things like that. So once it is approved, we reach out, we let them know the date that it would be released and all the different marketing materials that would be needed. And then leading up, we will help with all the different marketings. And then also one of the key differentiators from our marketing, yes, we promote the film, but our true marketing focuses on, because our name is called NextFoundArtist, we want to help them be found. So we focus on who the filmmakers are, who the director, who the writer, who the producer. And we really want to get back to understanding why they created the film. So we talk a little bit about like, what was your inspiration? What throughout your childhood made you want to even tell this story? What are you eager about people to learn from the film? So that's sort of like what our marketing efforts kind of go back to and focus on, and really emphasizing again who they are, because that also helps communities or different individuals be like, oh, now I feel seen with why they created that story. So now I'm more excited for wanting to watch this film, and they get all of that data and that information back. And
so the platform is to basically to connect audiences, but then also you mentioned, did you mention, you said audiences, but then sorry.
Now I'm thinking back, like, what else did I say?
No. I'm just thinking about
audience, pioneers, producers, like literally everyone. The goal, correct me if I'm wrong, is to just connect these filmmakers with everyone. You're essentially trying to accomplish what the studio system does, but on a more grassroots level.
Exactly.
Is that the way?
And we want to do it for emerging artists. So we want to help them, one, be able to have a platform where they can share it and know that, because again, 99% of films don't get picked up for distribution. And so for these films, they can either, which is the most heartbreaking thing, is that some people just throw them on the shelves and they go nowhere. Some people, like, there are plenty of other platforms, and people are like, okay, well, like, why are you different than other platforms? Other platforms are still great. They're still accessible, but you still have to do the marketing. You still have to put yourself out there to be found, right? And so we're not guaranteeing that you're going to be found on our platform. We're just giving you the tools to help you be found. And so for us, it's, you are not just going to get lost in the abyss. So that's really our goal, is to give the tools for them to ultimately help them be found. And so we connect consumers with, or audiences, communities with filmmakers, and then filmmakers with their audiences. And then we have a beta coming out next year that will hopefully help a little bit more with funding aspects. I won't say too much about that just yet, but I'm very excited for it. But we are looking for filmmakers to kind of lean into the beta with us. And so if they're interested or are looking for someone to help them with some of the funding aspects to learn more, definitely reach out to us, and we're happy to share more about it and see if it aligns with them. Does that answer your question? Was that your question?
I'm just like
So the best way to like think about it too is like, okay, Lot1 Productions. We make shorts, we've made features, blah blah blah. So we tend to focus, or at least some of our bigger projects have ended up on YouTube. Your goal is to essentially kind of not just like, we put it on YouTube and we hope and we pray that like it gets views. All right, cool. This video only gets 600 views, but that one got 50,000. Why does that not? So you're trying to get rid of that, right? You're trying to make it like, okay, we create a platform that like, no matter what, like at least it will get seen, because people who are going to that platform are looking for movies, versus I put it on YouTube. The people who come across it may not be looking for movies. And I think that it's, yeah, sorry, I don't know if that's
no that, I mean, great job. Do you want to look up for marketing? No.
I mean, I might be looking for it.
yeah.
No, I mean, that was thank you for explaining it that way. The other way to also do it is that, think about it this way: when you're putting in information into YouTube, you still have to make sure that you're putting in the right metadata and the right keywords that hopefully someone knows to search for. And so for us, because the communities tie back to the cast and crew and content and topics, it's not just like, show me a funny video. It's more like in some of our communities, just to like give examples, our women, our sapphic, our anxiety, our psychedelic, our motherhood, our grief. They really allow people to, whatever their vibe is for that day, really allows them to come in and search or select the different communities, and we filter through the catalog for them, and we showcase the films to them.
Yeah. I guess here's my question. So when a person comes in and they have their film on the platform, what is sort of the data that comes back that they can use, and sort of what is the ideal use case for that data outside? Is it outside the platform or is it within the platform?
It can be either. And so for us right now, we are collecting, obviously, of course, like anyone who comes into the platform, we're collecting the communities that they're selecting on. and we're getting their just more about their demographics, so like their age or their gender, and then their city as well. And so that information allows for the filmmaker to be like, okay, well, what communities are aligning with certain age or are also for in like specific areas, right? So it's like motherhood may be in 35 to 44, but then anxiety may be 18 to 24, so it just like gives them a little bit more insight into who from their audience is engaging with their film, and also is what communities are really aligning with those with those individuals as well. And then we're in the midst of building out an enhanced dashboard for artists as well that taps into also their entire social presence. So they'll be able to get like the full realm of, okay, not just in this one platform, how are people responding to my films, responding to me, but also like their growth outside of our platform, the scale and the growth across all of their different socials. How is that performing? Are they also seeing an increase in themselves throughout the entire digital ecospace?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. And then this data is just, again, this could be for them for future projects to be like, okay, now I know a little bit more about my audience. And so that could be for them. Or it could be like for, I say like future financiers being like, look at the audience I've been able to build. I know my audience. They know me. Here's why you should want to partner with us or want to help me continue to tell the stories that need to be told. And that really do resonate with the community that I've been able to build.
Nice. And you're able to track the social sort of traffic, if you will, on the platform?
Like their growth. So like
their growth. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's great. That's really cool. I think it sounds like a really interesting tool for, the distribution process. Like it's a really good, like a good way to get metrics, and yeah, that's cool. So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, with this platform, you're obviously continuing to develop even further. If you can tell us, what is that ultimate end goal with this platform? Like, let's say 20 years from now, are you trying to be the next Netflix just on an indie level? Or are you, do you have that end goal?
For all of my future financiers and all of my future investors, of course I have that all planned out. But for starters, I will say I never want to be the next anyone. I want to be the first us. So I will always say that. It's like, yes, there are, Netflix will always exist, YouTube will always exist. What they do is great, but what we can do is provide that space for that gap that's happening in the industry. And do I have an end goal? Absolutely. But for right now, it's will always just remain the same, is that we want to make sure that everyone knows that they matter and that they have art that reflects them, and to have that safe space. So what that means from a future investor term, sure, everyone has that, but for us, it will continue to just be that safe space.
Nice.
And entertainment. Yeah. Again, it is still a wonderful entertainment platform.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got films coming into the platform. Are there any types of films that you're looking for at the moment, or is it sort of all types of films? What's your
all types of films? Yeah.
Got it.
So we don't we're not industry specific, or we're not vertical specific. Yeah, no, we welcome all films, and that we're always looking for films to add to our catalog. So we would love for people to sign up and for us to help them share their art with the world and help them be found.
Nice. What is your upcoming overview session in February?
Yep. So we are partnering with one of our film festivals that we work with. And so this is just like a wonderful opportunity who anyone is trying to understand the film festival route. And so we are going through it with like a programmer and the head of the festival, and really just a teaching moment. So we're going to talk about after the film is created, now what, right? So we're going to talk about which festival to be applying to. How do you find the festivals that you want to be applying to? We're going to go over what does that application look like? How should you be submitting that application? What happens at the festival? and then what happens after the festival and what are different solutions. So it's really just going through more of an educational level to be able to have emerging filmmakers, or again, any filmmaker at any status, to be like, I really wanted to get accepted into that one festival. Why didn't I get in? Hopefully this will give them a little bit more insight into how to kind of update some of their applications based on their different, and there's so many festivals out there, right? So it's like, how do you even choose the ones that you want to be submitting to, and how do you tailor it to them so that you can ultimately help your chances of getting into it?
That's actually really good. And I think it's something that, I don't know if a lot of filmmakers are thinking about this. I think that, there's a pretty blanket, everyone wants to kind of get into the top ones like Cannes, Telluride, Sundance. But there are a lot of film festivals that are, Proof is another one we went to recently. Proof is a good example. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And where it's, it's very specific as to what the goal of that festival is. And so as you've been doing the research and going through, what have you found in terms of like the varieties and the differences? Are there a lot of ones that are skewing a particular way, or is it extremely varied?
Are you talking about from like all the festivals that are out there?
Correct. Yeah. All the festivals that
The wonderful thing about film festivals is that there's something for everyone. And so there are exactly what it is that you're looking for. There, I promise you that there is a festival for it. And so for whatever content that you are creating or every topic that you are discussing, like there's a festival for it. But like, how do you find it? And how do you make sure that like, that like your film does align with what it is that festival might be looking for? So we are just like going to talk a little bit more about that. But there's definitely, of course, someone said this to me, and like, yes, I understand like when people say this, that like, okay, there's the top tier festivals. And I'm like, there's just like the ones that are very well known. Right. And so it's like, and the reason why I say like, I would never say top tier, like, sure, like everyone knows like the Tribeca's, the Sundance, but it's like every single one is a perfect tier and aligned with whatever filmmaker that it is, right? So it's like, sure, there's the more well-known ones, but for each individual group or whatever that film is about, there is a festival that is perfect at that tier for them. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't really know if that answers your question, but
no, I think that's great
for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's like a perspective shift in understanding what the ultimate goal is. If the ultimate goal for any film is to be seen by people, I think that there is like the shotgun effect or shotgun sort of strategy. Like you spray it down with as many people as possible, and then you could potentially find your audience within there. But I think correct me if I'm wrong, what you're trying to do is you're trying to have a more tailored effect and understand where you would be best fit for the type of thing that you're trying to create, and then bring the audience to that. Because that, I think at the end of the day, if you found a pretty loyal audience that likes and resonates with the type of content that you're making, that is almost has longer legs, if you will.
1,000%. And and that's what we are going to discuss, right? Just a little bit more about that. But exactly what you said is that it's quality over quantity, right? So it's like, if you could start out by having, maybe 100 like super loyal fans that watch like one of your first shorts that comes out of a local festival, but you're able to start building your community somewhere. And it's those people that will continue to support you throughout your entire creative journey. That when you do want to apply or you do want to submit to a larger festival, you are ultimately like, yes, you'll be able to spray and pray it, but you started somewhere, right? So it's like one of my advisors told me the other day, she was like, Rome wasn't built in a day. And it's like the same thing from a mindset of a filmmaker. It's like, if you could, obviously, like I'm not saying don't, shoot your shot. Like if you want to submit only to the top tier, absolutely go for that. But there's nothing wrong with finding one that does align a little bit more with your story or with your topic or just anything in general, because they still matter and there's still wonderful festivals out there. There's over 2,300 worldwide film festivals. So I promise you, there is a festival for you
Yeah.
that definitely wants to showcase your film that you can also start to reach an audience with.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really great. I am curious about, you said that you work with a lot of festivals, universities, and I'm curious like how people can kind of get involved if they are either in school, or just got out of school, how they can get involved with what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do just want to also touch on one point, is that the importance of festivals and going to festivals. It's, again, whether it's regardless of what it is. And the reason why they're so important is because it's community. And so you get the experience of being able to show your film or talk about your film, but you're also around other individuals who are in the space. And so from that environment and that opportunity, you just never know who you're going to meet. And it's from those you might find your next job, or you might find your next, co-writer, your next director. You just don't know. And it's the wonderful experience of being able to be within your community and going to them and be able to experience them. And then they just do a wonderful job of keeping everybody afloat of what's going on in the industry, what's new in the industry. So they're really not just a great way to get your film out, but they're also a great way to connect with other people and to continuously learn. So if you can, if it's part of the budget, like definitely I would try to, or even just as a viewer, like go to a film festival and just experience it. Because I've met so many amazing people at some of the festivals, and of course I've seen amazing films from the festivals and not the festivals, but they're super important to just even experience.
Yeah, that's something that is, my mind has changed about completely in the last what Proof was like 3 or 4 months ago, or at least it feels like it. My time is totally skewed from this year. But like I was always like, I had a film, 2 films that made it into a local film festival while I was in college. It wasn't the most developed film festival in the world, so like not a lot of people were there. So like my experience was like really small. Like it wasn't a really big experience. I didn't meet a whole lot of people. It was like kind of like whatever, right? And then I went to Proof and I was just like, my God, like this is completely different than what my original perception of like going to film festivals was. And I completely agree. And as a filmmaker, that like just meeting people alone, period, end of story, is like, that alone is worth the value of which that ticket cost is, or just the time is. Because me and Deji went and we ran into some very like we just happened to run into someone who worked at purchasing films at Sony. They were just there. They just like gotten off of work, walked into the film festival, had a ticket, and she was like, whatever. So gave us like a great insight on some things. Like it was just like really interesting. But it's also like, I feel like, especially in this industry, it is really hard to keep your mind on like moving forward, especially if you have a lot of like not super successful things, or like a film has flopped, or a project didn't go through that you thought was going to go through. That like being around other people whose films are being pushed through and successful is very inspiring, and kind of re-energizes you to like, all right, it's time to move forward. Let's do this. Let's go make a film tomorrow. Like I remember me and Deji were like, let's do it right now. Let's grab the camera and let's like we were like hyped up, ready to go. It was like a dopamine hit. So yeah, it's really, I think it's awesome that you say that, because like, I mean, literally we have a guest that we just recorded a podcast with that we met at Proof. So that's a great example.
Yeah. I was at that's so funny. I was at Proof and I like looked over, and one of the artists that we work with, we have only, because he lives out in LA and I'm in New Jersey, we've never actually met in person. I looked over and I was like, oh my God. And like we ran into we were like, oh my God, you actually have a full torso. It's so weird to actually see what you look like in person. Obviously we've done like video chats and things like that, but it's just, again, you don't know who you're going to run into. And it's exactly what you said. It's like, you might be, and it's a total human experience to be like, okay, I'm riding, like there's peaks and valleys throughout any single thing that you're doing in life. And like that definitely comes within the filmmaking world as well, right? Like you don't know if something's going to be a success or not, but going into an environment that does create a little bit more of that inspiration or just inspiring type of creative mindset is super powerful, because now you might take something, one of the smallest things away, that will inspire you for your next story that you want to go out and develop or create or be able to tell. And I forgot the second thing that I was going to say.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally derailed that whole thing.
No.
It'll come to you.
It will come back when it comes back.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I just had to ruin everything.
We have to go back.
I know the viewers are so mad right now.
I guess what are some of the trends that you're noticing in independent filmmaking, and sort of how does it? Yeah.
It came back. But it came back because of exactly what you said, is that there's such a shift that's happening in the industry right now. And it's going to these festivals or going and meeting other filmmakers, that you all realize that we're all trying to do the same thing, is that we are all trying to be able to share more authentic stories, or be able to share more stories that matter. And so it's not, again, that these studios will always exist, right? Like superhero movies will always exist, but there are a need and a want for other types of stories. And so when you go to these festivals, and that's one of the trends that we are seeing, is that there is such a want and a need for more of a authentic storytelling and storylines, and of the perspective from those communities and from those cultures. And so there's actually been a shift with consumers and their behaviors, that they do shift and go more towards social media. And the reason why is because they fill that void of diversity. So actually on some of the social platforms, about 21% of diverse creators outperform non-diverse creators, just because consumers are looking for more of that authentic storyline to who is feeling represented or being told. And so that's really like what I've seen, even from my experience being in the film space, and then to now, is that we only have storylines being, usually being retold over and over again. But it's because there was such a lack of diversity that you don't allow for new perspectives. Whereas that's kind of where the shift is kind of happening within the trends, is that because we are all coming together and we all want to tell the stories that need to be told and that need to be shared. And if you feel that way as a filmmaker, there's a reason why you are meant to tell that story. And then it will resonate with people, because it is coming from someone's point of view who has experienced it, who does now provide that opportunity for someone, a viewer, to feel that sense of belonging.
How, I guess, so in terms of the filmmakers that you've got onto the platform, do you have an example of, like, for lack of a better word, like a success story, like where a person has come in and
utilized
everything's been great.
Yeah.
People have asked me, like, what's your favorite film? And I'm like, this is like a mother can choose their favorite child. Yeah. And it's just like, I can't say which one is like.
Is there a film or a project that like, for the platform, if you went to an investor and we're like, okay, here's a great, like, this was most successful statistics wise, data wise, like, is there an example of that?
Yes, we have some of those, but I think, like, for me, the most rewarding was we worked with a filmmaker where their film had gone through the festival route. I mean, we're talking, like, I think it was like 40 film festivals, and it won a bunch of awards, and it was amazing. And it went onto another platform, but it was taken down because it said that it wasn't appropriate for their guidelines. And so there was nudity in it. And for us, we were like, that's fine. Like, nudity is, we mark the rating that it is appropriate to. But to have the ability for people to now have access to it again, and for it to be seen, for us, was just more of a feel-good moment that we were able to give that opportunity to another filmmaker.
That's great. Yeah.
I love that. No, for sure. Because I was hesitating, because I was like, if we could go down this really big rabbit hole right now about censorship in just the act of not allowing projects to be seen because of guidelines or whatever it is. So we don't need to go down that rabbit hole quite yet. Maybe we save that for later. But
yeah, we'll do that another time.
Yeah. That's super cool though. just for clarification for the audience sake, I know you kind of touched on it. When you go to the website and you click on a film, is it like you guys are the platform that you watch it on, or are you piping through like a Vimeo link or a YouTube link and you're just providing essentially the face to the project? Just for clarification, because like I think that was one of the questions. I already know the answer, but I just wanted to ask for the audience sake.
Yeah, no. So right now, because we're still a startup, we do utilize other servers. So meaning that someone will send us a YouTube link or a Vimeo link, and then we are just providing the data, the experience for the consumer, but it's all housed on our platform. So meaning like everything is being watched on our platform, even though the link is embedded into our site. Future down the line, we will have our own version of it. But for right now, yes, people just need to send us the link or can send us the MP4, and then we'll take care of creating a link. And then that's how it gets shown to audiences.
So for the stats wise, are you just retrieving the stats based off of the traffic on your site, or are you also including like if someone found the film via the other site, are you including that information? Yeah. Okay.
No, just through our own site.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
I know we're getting closer to the end here, but Chris has a very special question.
So important. Always the most important question.
On the edge of my seat.
If you had one piece of advice that you could give anyone who, let's specify, a filmmaker trying to get their film distributed, what is that one piece of advice you give them?
That's a great question. And I did actually just discuss this on a panel at a film festival recently. But what I told them is a little bit different than what you're asking. So what I told them was that even if you do get a distribution offer, understanding the terms is super, super important. But also the other thing is knowing that you don't have to take the deal. And that's one thing that a lot of filmmakers don't realize. They're like, oh, I have to take it. But so that's one thing to note. But then the second part is, how do you even find that distribution?
Yeah.
There's so many different outlets now. So one meaning if you go through the festival route and then you are unsuccessful at that moment, still continue to try, still continue to put your art out there. I think the most important thing for any filmmaker is showcasing your work and trying to still find and build a community. And so there are so many different platforms that are out there. Cough, cough, use ours, but there's so many different platforms out there where you can still share your art and still find and build a community. So understanding or learning about the new trends that are going on in the industry, self-distribution, different opportunities. You do not just put it on the shelf and don't have it go anywhere, because that is one of the most heartbreaking things as an artist. You still want to share it with others, and there's a reason why you told it and why you created it. So still finding a home for it is super important, whether that's with a large distribution or a self-distribution option.
Mm. Nice.
There it is.
That's great.
Don't shelf it.
Yeah.
Don't shelf it.
Don't shelf it. Share it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on the podcast. And for the people at home who want to maybe get in contact with you, what's the best way for them?
Yeah. So we right on our platform there is like NextFoundArtist.com. There is the submission form, or they can reach out to us directly. You can do info@NextFoundArtist.com. And then there's actually, if anyone is interested in signing up for the partnership and the overview with our festival, there's a Luma link. I don't know if it will be down below or whatever, but there is a link where they can also sign up for that. And then we'll post it onto our socials as well so that they can access it.
Okay. Yeah, we can maybe put it in the show notes.
Perfect. Thank
Awesome.
you guys.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's Lot1 Podcast episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast, and leave a review and share it with your mom. It really helps others find us. Big shout out to our producer, Mina Vazarian. She's a rock star. Connect with us on Instagram, TikTok at the Lot1 Podcast for behind the scenes content and updates. We're now accepting listener mail. So if you got any questions for us or our guests, drop us a line anytime. Also, if you're interested in finding out more about Lot1 Productions and all we got going on over there, check us out at lot1productions.com. That's LOT1 productions.com. Until next time, folks, keep those creative fires burning, dream big, and remember, the filmmaking journey is worth the ride. So, see you next time.
Is worth the ride. Beautiful.